Some of the stuff that got a lot of guys into trouble also got a lot of guys really big. It's like
you can't even argue that fact.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 121 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Scott McNally, our producer, and of course Dusty Hanshaw. Like, share, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
There we go. So, gentlemen, good to have you. It's a rainy Monday morning here in the Vancouver area. It kind of just always looks like an apocalyptic movie from December to like April. So
Yes.
gray, no sun, constant rain, some snow. Yeah. You got to try to stay happy other ways. So
Moody.
Big Boba Fett mug full of coffee for me.
Are you doing plenty of garage riding now then?
Yeah, so I found a urine stenched beauty of an underground spot.
Beauty, he says. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I actually scoped it out last year, but last year I was like a desperate newbie back on my bike, really wanted to ride, and it was too dirty for me.
Oh.
But now my standards have come so much lower that the Superstore parking lot is like awesome. I feel like it's a blessing.
So last year was like 10:30 in the nightclub, and this year's like 2 a.m.
Yeah, with beer goggles on.
You know,
Oh,
Scott,
look, it's pretty flat. It's pretty flat. It's not that bad. It'll do.
Hey, we used to say, Scott, that a 10 o'clock 2 is a 2 o'clock 10.
Yes.
So you got to do what you got to do.
And just like any spot, it takes a few rides to really get used to it.
Yeah,
You know?
just don't tell your friends.
You really find the best areas, you know, and you find where to avoid.
Where to avoid is the big one,
Right? Yeah. Same as any ride, Dusty, at 2 o'clock in the morning. There's a metaphor in there if you missed it.
If you missed it, you guys haven't been watching the show for 120 episodes.
So I don't want to bore people. I won't go on, but I just have to brag a little bit and segue into something maybe someone can find some motivation from. But it's been a hard few months on the bike because of all the rain, and I couldn't find a spot. And this spot's not always usable. Sometimes there's too many cars. So it's been tough and super crazy. So every time I went out on my bike, I felt like I was just kind of like fighting to stay where I was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like kind of if you can only train twice a week, you're just like, God, I got to get like a little bit of everything in and try to like, you know? And so I didn't really feel like I made progress, like very slight, like certain things maybe got more natural, like subtle stuff that is progress, but you don't really notice it, you know? But the other day I had a session where I just like was the best I'd been the whole time, like the very best I've been since I got back on the bike, like most consistent, pulled everything off, you know, new stuff was like coming, like made progress on all the new stuff, like all 5 things I'm working on. I made like obvious, like step up progress. So it was one of those things. And I just thought, you know, like that's just slugging it out. Like I know things weren't optimal. I know I wasn't, you know, everyone's like all these people that don't train because things aren't optimal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, well, I'm not really on anything and I've kind of been missing meals. So I just haven't been training. No, man, you got to fight. You got to stay in there. Even if it's only once a week, fucking get in the gym, like that type of attitude. And that's what I was. And all through this past few months here. And it was like, oh, fuck it. There still is, you can still chip away. You know what I mean? Right. That's the lesson.
It's a good lesson for sure.
You know, just good to remind yourself, you can still chip away. There's progress happening, even if you don't really notice it. You know, you may be like, just, I don't know. It's good. It's a good reminder. Don't stop working on your shit. You know, I remember when I was really good at guitar, even if I could just play 10 minutes a day or even 5 minutes a day, like even if I just picked it up every day, I got better over time.
Reps.
Yeah, reps. Back to reps. There's my little thing. I hope that wasn't too off topic.
I like that. It all relates.
It does, actually. It's funny how you did that when we first started this, and now I steal so much Ron Scott, but I've stolen that in general when talking to people about any form of excellence.
Yeah.
So reps applies, and I had never used that before Ron, but I don't give him any credit. I just say it as if it was mine.
Yeah. It's like a fact.
It's actually, you know, it's actually also an Arnold thing. You know, if you read his book, he talks about reps. It's like one of the main lessons at the end of the book.
I would read his book when he was a bodybuilder, but now that he's a demicunt, I don't want to. Moving forward.
It's still my favorite book ever. It's still my favorite book ever. Yes. Okay, what's next? Dusty, you have something you're looking at.
I'm getting ready because last time I got blindsided, I had no questions. And then you were like, do you have a question? I was like, well, shit, I haven't even opened my Instagram. So I was opening my Instagram.
I got something I got to tell you guys about. This is something that's happening right now. You know that things are coming back together when you eat your post-workout, which while we were doing like our little pre-show, I was eating my post-workout. And man, I've just been like sweating, just like eating that food and freaking sweating. So that tells me like, something's working right. You know what I mean?
Another thing, I got to say, I saw your post, Scott, when you said you had the best leg workout since you got COVID.
Yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
So what happened? Like, how much better was it? Like, what was the big thing that made it the best workout?
I think,
your oxygen?
My oxygen still sucks. And that's my biggest constraint. And you know, like if you hurt your back or you hurt like your leg or something, you hurt your knee, you can kind of work around it. You can be like, hey, you know, like we all know how to work around that stuff. But if you can't breathe, then it's kind of screwed me. And I feel like the last year I've kind of been like just stuck, you know, feeling like, well, what do I do? Because everything I've done hasn't worked. So I'm just looking at it now differently. I'm looking at it like the same way. If you hurt your back, you can still train legs, but maybe you can't squat. You know what I mean? But you can still get a good workout in. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, my lungs might not be 100%, but that doesn't mean that I can't still do something. So how can I work around that? So that's really what the difference was an attitude change, I think.
Right.
And tren, a little bit tren, 50 milligrams twice a week, just a little bit of tren, not much.
Tren hard, my friend.
Not much, but it's making a difference. That and clen, honestly, you're running the little clen, little tren. It's good.
Little bronchodilator in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Not for fat loss, just get the lungs going. You know,
just to open things up a little bit. I also heard that there is a link to a little bit of THC dilating the bronchial tubes as well.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, you know.
Look
Supposedly
helping out,
you know,
man.
but actually, you know what? I can't remember if it was THC or if it was like pot smoke itself. Maybe it was something else in the pot smoke.
Okay,
you might like
You're saying you should do edibles and smoke just to make sure you cover your bases.
Just to make sure. Just to make sure.
Yes,
I just want to make sure I got the point of the story. I wanted to know.
Yeah. Of course. You know, it's just like your short acting and long acting testosterones. You want to blend them.
You got to stack them.
You know, you got to stack them. You got to stack them.
And was born. So
yeah, you know, I call it the 5 and 5. You know,
that's freaking fantastic.
Okay, wow, just kidding, Scott. I didn't mean to hijack your.
It's all right. It's all right. I appreciate the ideas. Maybe we'll that'll be the next step.
So do you do like?
But I know
you do like a hypertrophy set, and then you take like 4 minutes rest, and then you do like a 1 rep powerlifting single, and then you take another 4 minutes rest, and you're recovered enough to do another hypertrophy set.
Yes. Yeah, I used to love the like super high reps on legs, and that's what I can't do anymore. So now I'm like, okay, maybe I go heavier in that 6 to 8 rep range, and what can I handle? You know, here's where Scott begins his, you know, this story. You know, guy in his 40s takes up powerlifting. Yeah. And then wonders why he's got 5 new injuries within a year.
Who knows? It's a freaking mystery for sure.
Right.
That's funny you brought that up, Scott. I did I've been doing 20s on legs for everything.
Jealous.
It's an
gonna bring that up,
amazing
Dusty.
form
I
of
saw your
hell.
post.
Yeah, it is, isn't
I
it?
love it. But
Yeah.
and this goes, man, I'm just really kissing Ron's ass today. This goes back to Ron protecting me a couple of years ago. I'm doing it with the warm-ups too, so I can try to force the weight down by the time I get to the working sets too.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So like the other day, I mean, I did a set with 20 plates on a leg press, which this particular leg press, that's not even close to full.
Okay.
And I mean, I was smoked.
Huh.
But it was my sixth set of 20 and the third movement of the day.
Dusty goes to volume. Dusty goes to volume training. It's a weird.
I actually
weird
thought I
world.
was going to die during the set.
Yeah.
And somebody actually commented on the picture. They're like, "Oh, you look like you found a new place to rest again." I took another nap.
So I have an opinion on this after all of what my body went through. Of course, some guys are just way more durable. I was pretty durable. I fucking trained heavy. For me, like I did a lot of 6 to 8 rep stuff for years and years and years and years and years. So I trained hard. Some guys are far more durable, and they may laugh at what I'm saying, and I don't want to come off as a pussy, but there's a point when some guys get so strong on legs that they're just a huge danger to themselves.
Yeah.
And I've seen Dusty do like 10 plate hack squats for like 15 reps, 12 reps or something. What was it, Dusty? How many you get with 10 plates? 9 plates.
Probably done both, yeah.
Jesus fuck. Yeah. And like it's not like he's doing them to take tension off his knees. He's doing them to like maximize quad load. So the knee is like fully fucking loaded. And I just think, Jesus, like there's a lot going on there. And I do think it's highly effective, obviously.
Right.
But how many times do you keep doing it for like the minimal return that you start to get on it?
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? Because the return on it, when you first start training like that, there's like a level up that happens. We see it in everybody. Everyone that gets their strength to take that jump.
Yeah.
Every time you see a guy who's like, if anyone's like doing strict shoulder presses with 150s, they're big.
Oh yeah.
So like there's things that we obviously know make you bigger, but I'm just saying like over time, stuff eventually wears out. So we got to find other ways to do things. I don't know. I think that the leg press is great exercise for volume like that.
Yeah, I agree. You know what the other thing is, and I redid this, I've become obsessive with stretching a muscle. I don't, when I think of like range of motion, I don't mind that I cut short, like say on a incline or something from lockout, because I actually want to keep my tris out of the game. But on things you can safely, I love the stretch. Like, so the depth of my leg press now versus what it was 2 years ago is night and day. Obviously, the weight is also night and day. It's way down, so it's like safety's there, but the pain is there, and the growth is better now. There's quite a bit of stuff I wish I could rewind the time on and go heavy for the range of motion. So like, the number of plates that goes on the machine is less, but it's way more brutal to really sink in, especially a leg press. I used to think leg presses were kind of useless, and I was like, oh, it's just because you're doing it wrong, moron. So whatever.
I've always loved the leg press because I always had a few different ways to do it. You know what I mean? So it just depended on where it was in the workout. I'd move my feet around a lot and stuff. It was like always a big movement for me. Yeah. But you got to have a good one. You got to have one that you really, really have a relationship with.
What's your favorite leg press?
That's it. There you go. I already know the answer, but go ahead.
Well, there's favorite leg press generally, and then there's favorite actual leg press. So my favorite leg press generally is like the classic Nebula that they have at Bev's, and it's the one with the 3 different. I like the one with the 3 different platforms. Most Nebulas have 2.
Okay.
Right? There's a split across the middle of the platform where there's a bit of an angle change, and that one's great. But the one at Bev's has 3. And I always liked that one the very best because my foot fit right in this one spot, and it was just fucking perfect. So that's my favorite leg press. But my favorite leg press ever is the white Apex leg press at Hardcore Gym in Edmonton, which is now called The Bar. So good luck to those guys running the gym there. But I used that leg press for 14 years, and we used to fucking, oh man, I just so many memories. I got blood all over it many times, you know. So it's just you know, one of those pieces.
Just good times. Have you used the hammer strength leg press? Because that's what this new gym I'm at has, and it is the smoothest thing I've ever gotten on. I'm like, what the hell?
Like the new hammer that's on the linear bearings.
Yes.
The rails, yeah, it's a great press too. The seat only has 2 adjustments, right?
Yeah, and I do the way leaned back one because the other one's, it's, I think based on thickness front to back that you have naturally, there's no range for me if I do forward.
Yeah. I remember using the forward seat position for a while, and just to see like, and my hips started really fucking bothering me.
Right,
it was like too forward, you know. So yeah, I know what you mean. That's the only downside of that leg press is there's not a lot of choice on the seat back.
Yeah,
but it's a great piece.
Yeah, I was surprised though because I looked at, I don't typically like when I look at a leg press that looks like that. Usually the ones that look just like that, I'm like, it'll be fine. I got on, I was like, fuck, this thing is smooth as hell. Like definitely different a piece. And you know, I'm collecting equipment, so you never know. I might need one of those too.
I put my heels right at the bottom of that one.
Yeah, you know, you can
like
bury it.
Yeah, and there's that little V notch in the middle, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a platform. Yeah, that's a good press. Okay, look at it. Does see, look how excited we get.
I'm getting, well, you know, Scott, you can ask Ron. Anytime I'm looking at equipment, I call him.
Dude, oh, that's a good call.
I mean text, because I don't actually call anymore.
Sure.
But,
I know what you meant.
But yes, I text him immediately, and I'm like, him, Jordan, and a couple other people. I'm like, so if I was getting this piece, which one is your favorite? And what I love is everyone that I text tells me 3 when I ask for one, which is fantastic. I actually need to know a couple.
And we give you too much, and do they all do what I do and give you too much extra information that you didn't ask for?
But it's gold, because then when I'm doing my search, which right now, by the way, there's a lot of equipment out there right now. It's a beautiful buyer's market.
It is. Oh, yeah.
I literally am like, I need this. It took like 3 minutes. I'm like, oh, $1,000. All right, done.
I need like 10 more square feet of space. I'd like to be able to, if I could have that, then I'd buy some more stuff. But right now, I'm limited.
So two things. Dusty's on the East Coast, right?
Currently, yes.
So there's tons of equipment on the East Coast, like copious, ridiculous amount. I learned that when I was searching for equipment started searching years ago, was all the crazy stuff that I would see on Marketplace was all like New York State.
Yeah, a lot up there.
Connecticut, you know, like maybe Michigan.
Yeah, we have some good stuff. Like, and then I'm seeing some in Indiana too, like out in the country.
Just out east, like so far from me that shipping would be like 3 times what the piece cost.
It wouldn't gonna work for the shipping.
Yeah. So now, Scott, one piece. If you could add one piece to your gym,
I want a chest supported back machine. If I had the space, I would like a prime machine for that. But that would take up a lot of extra room. So I'd go with a plate loaded, like seated chest supported, like row type deal. Something like that. Something where you could pull wide or pull close or do a T-bar while you're standing type movement. Something like that.
My favorite chest supported row is the chest supported T-bar, the lying T-bar.
Those are nice.
I think that, and they're really light because they're plate loaded, so there's no stack or anything. Like
they're kind of like they're just narrow and long too, so you could squeeze it in. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Kind of get them in along a wall, kind of, you know, and they're also so light that you can move them around. Like you could move it out of the way to do legs, and then move it out of the way to do like. It's one of those pieces you could shuffle around your gym if you're in like a garage gym or a basement gym, because it's, you know, you can slide it because it's narrow. So you could just have it like if you had to move it back and forth to make it usable. So you can really fit those in. So chest supported T-bars I recommend to guys for like home gyms because it's such an awesome piece for back. You can go heavy, you can go light, you can go wide, you can go narrow. You do fucking everything. You know what I mean?
And there can be a good price too, you know?
Yeah, you can do like I do a lot of stuff where I reach for the floor. Like I round my back over the top of the pad and like stretch my inner back and try to tap the floor with the plates and then pull them all the way up. And then you can do like the more like power row, you know, where you kind of stand up more.
Yeah, yeah.
So great piece. Yeah. What do you have for that, Dusty?
For that, well, you know what
are you training on right now? Like what does your gym have for a lying T-bar?
Well, this gym, I mean, I just started here a week ago at this other one, which, fun story. I don't know if you saw, but I put up a post about how the gym I was at, they got mad at me for banging the weights.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, and I had the video, so it was fantastic because banging the weights was one of the quietest things that's possible. I was literally shocked. So I posted it, and of course the internet understands why I posted it. But anyway, so I was filming dead stops at the new gym.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was going heavy, and so I had 455 on there, and I get done with the set, and here comes the GM. And he walks over and he goes, "That was fucking ridiculous. Glad to have you here." And then walked away. I'm like,
nice.
This is where I should be.
Yeah.
This is a good gym.
No way.
Because you're not doing stupid stuff. Like you're not the kind of guy who's gonna like bend their bars and break stuff. You know what I mean?
No. I mean, that's the thing that's funny is that's my obsession is taking care of the gym. Like I'm also not shy about telling other people to take their weight off if they don't. Things like that just drives me crazy. But also, I did watch the GM incline 405 with no spotter the other day for reps. So I was like, this is what you do. He came over today. I was doing incline. And between A, being a shitty presser my entire life, and B, coming back, I'm still way down. Like, I got 315 for 10 today. And he's like, "Oh, you got shoulder problems?" I'm like, "No, I've always been a bitch when it comes to pressing." Like, I would love to give you that excuse, but no, you're just way stronger than I am. It's fine.
You know, the shoulder press is overhead shoulder pressing is something that I don't think, like a lot of the Smith machine stuff and plate loaded stuff that I did, I don't think I fucking did it right for the majority of my career.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't learn to like get my elbows underneath and actually press upward.
Yeah.
I didn't do that for so long. I would be on the Smith and my elbows would be back. So I'd be driving into the rails a lot. You know what I mean? And you get a lot of pec engagement and a lot of like you're really powerful in that position, and you can like push against the rails and the bar still goes upward.
Right.
And you have all that fucking torque. Like imagine the amount of wasted power that's not driving upward because you're just directing it into the rails.
Right.
But it's still stress. So I like grew because I got up to like, I wasn't that strong at those, but I mean, I was like, 3.5 plates, 3 3/4 plates in that position. But I should have been, tucking the elbows underneath, and pressing upward. And, which I do now, but I think, fuck, man, I don't know how strong I actually was on those. Like probably another 1.5 plates less than what I was using if I would have done them right.
That's freaking wacky, though.
Yeah.
Have you used any of that Gym Shop kit equipment, Ron? That's over in the UK.
What's it called?
Gym Shop kit. That's the name of their Gym Shop is what they are, but it's a huge thing.
Gym Shop kit. Yeah, I am following them. Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Okay.
Like, that's some stuff that I would love to get. They've got a few back pieces that are just ridiculous.
So I see JP doing some chest presses on one of their pieces. Yeah,
and then he has their he's got their pull down machine, the single that he loves, and he also has their low row that's hinged the same handles, all that. Also amazing.
Because this press that he's on looks like a Nautilus plate loaded.
Yeah, it does.
Like that looks exactly like the Nautilus plate loaded. It moves exactly the same. So, but the thing is that's a fantastic piece. So that's good to know.
Yeah, they got a lot. I haven't spoken to them yet about what it's going to cost to get it, because I can't like something that's 5 minutes from me. I got to like something that's across the world.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. So some of it looks a lot like some of the Nautilus plate loaded, but that stuff's fantastic. So, it's I don't blame them for using some of those angles and stuff. So, okay.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Best,
I want to try it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know the high row one or the pull down that's in the top of their page right there. James used it for the first time when he was at JP's gym, and he said the same thing. He was like, I have to have this.
Right.
I need this piece. So that one's on the Christmas list if you want to buy me anything next year, Ron.
I'm looking forward to having you up eventually because I want you to try the Panada back stuff that we have because it's awesome.
Yeah, and that stuff wasn't expensive, right?
Well, we got a crazy deal, so
right.
It is very expensive. But
I need a crazy deal. All right, we should probably move on because these people don't give a shit about my love for equipment. Sorry.
They can fast forward that part. We got timestamps. We'll have timestamps.
Yeah, you guys can skip through this, but if you like good equipment, stay along.
We should color code the timestamps to make have a red one for me, a black one for Dusty, and a red one for me, and a black one for Dusty, so people can really skip this.
Yeah, they can even skip just segments.
I could just do two podcasts, like one of just Ron answering stuff and one of Dusty.
People can just completely ignore whichever one of us they're actually here to not see or whatever.
I would be okay with that, except for I'm going to find out that my mom is watching for you, and that's going to really mess up my shit, I know. She's the only real fan I thought I had, and then she's gone. It's a mess.
I get it. Okay, let's do some questions. You got one, Dusty?
I have lots, believe it or not. Let me scroll. I'm starting at the bottom.
So I got one for you.
Shoot.
What's the number one thing you miss about Phoenix, Scottsdale?
That's a good question.
One the number on a daily, the thing that comes up the most frequently.
Oh, that's easy. It's Muscle Factory.
Okay.
It's my gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different when you pick every piece. Now, if I'm deleting that, right, you're not going to give me that one, then my next thing that I don't have here is Smash Burger.
Huh.
Oh.
I miss Smash Burger.
You just don't. Is Smash not all the way across the country, or they just don't have
it? It is, but they don't have it here.
We don't have that here either. I've never seen.
How far do you have to go to find a Smash Burger?
Hour and a half.
That's a drive.
And it's not to say that I'm not a soldier and I wouldn't do that, especially with gas being so cheap and me driving such a little car. It all makes perfect sense because it's already a $30 trip when I drove 1 mile down the road. So why not make it a $7,000 trip and drive the truck up to get one?
Right.
I think what I will do is I'll go up there because it's in just outside of Charlotte. There's a lot of eating up there, so maybe I'll do a tour. A couple days, just smash some food.
Okay,
So
what city is closest to you that would get every concert, every big
Charlotte.
Concert?
Charlotte. So Charlotte and Atlanta. I mean, I'm an hour and a half and 2 hours. I'm 2 hours from everything where I am.
Right. So you're 2 hours from Atlanta and an hour and a half from Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can go see whatever the fuck you want.
Oh yeah. No, there's no missing out. Yeah, we're solid on those. So, and they're always there, but I would prefer to go to Charlotte. Atlanta, there's a little bit of an issue with traffic.
I bet. Yeah.
I actually love Atlanta. It's an amazing city. I pass through at 2 a.m. when I travel, and it's beautiful. That's the only time that there's no traffic is 2 a.m. I don't know if that's right before the clubs get out or what, but yeah, every time. Ridiculous.
My main memory of Atlanta was how fucking hot it was when I was there.
Oh, and humid as shit.
Yeah. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was nice. So the city was cool, but I just fucking couldn't believe it. Yeah.
It's got to be the rap capital of the world too. I mean, all the great rappers, not all, but a large percentage, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yep.
Fun fact. Okay, sorry. I'm supposed to be focusing. Oh, here we go. I like this one, so I want to get your guys' answers. And Scott, you're going to lead off. I'm directing this to you.
All right, I'm ready. As ready as I'll ever be.
Dave Palumbo says, go off gear totally for receptors to be fresh. True or false? Better to cruise and blast? ?
He does say that. and I know you guys probably do too, know people that have worked with him that have had them go off. Dave's really old school. I know the way he runs insulin, at least the way I've heard, has been, and this is just another example of being old school, that he'd be like first thing in the morning and then 6 hours later, versus a lot of the guys now are doing it, pre-workout and stuff like that. I can tell you what, man, Dave knows how to get people into shape, and Dave was huge, 280. He was over 300 pounds. A lot of people I think today don't even really know who Dave Palumbo was. They just know of this like wacky caricature that's on YouTube. You know what I mean? And he's a different guy today, but Dave knows his shit. Would I do that personally? Probably not. I think it's more issue to come off altogether than just to go back to a TRT. But I do think though that there's a fine line there between going back to TRT and taking some time to recover, letting your hematocrit come down, all that stuff, versus like blasting and cruising on 500 test. I think, I don't know. I don't know if I really directly answered that, but that's my thoughts on it at least.
That's exactly right. I agree with Scott. It's all relative. Like, oh, you came off for 6 weeks? Oh, good for you.
Right.
Like, you want a cookie? Like, whereas a guy who maybe runs 150 milligrams a week for like 20 weeks, he's probably going to have way better blood work,
right,
than the guy who comes off for 6 weeks and then blasts again.
Well, when you come off, that also means running a post-cycle therapy, taking women's cancer drugs, all that shit. So I wonder what the damage it would be of running a bunch of PCT meds versus just going to TRT. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I always say that, how old are you? Is your testosterone going to come back to normal anyways? Do you care?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you have kids? Do you want kids? All that stuff. Like, it all factors in. I think that there is a bit of an illusion that your receptors are more fresh because your body reacts better.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily your receptors being more fresh. It's that you were below normal testosterone.
Right.
Like you were off, because chances are they don't wait long enough for their natural levels to be perfect. Yeah. So the stark contrast from low to suddenly high is what makes the body go boom. And then they're like, oh, my receptors were so fresh. And it's not necessarily all that. It may be 50-50 or 70-30 or whatever. And I'm not saying Dave's wrong. I get it. I get what he means. So I'm just don't know if there's any actual science to prove that the receptor itself is more receptive. I know isn't there some studies about androgen receptors in the brain though, getting desensitized? Like guys that go on high test for the first time, their sex drive's like retarded.
Right.
Because their brain's like hypersensitive. I don't know. I think there's something out there, but we can leave it to our amazing viewers to send us the relevant data.
Yes. Some of those guys are really smart. They probably know better than us, right?
Oh yeah. I'm just fucking babbling.
Yeah.
What's funny is, so I spoke to a very well-known endo about this and about me. I was just shooting straight with him and said, I don't care either way because I hate taking shots. And he said, well, are you going to come off for a year? And I was like, no, I'm going to come off for like 12 weeks. And he was like, then don't do that.
Yeah.
He's like the fall and then trying to get it back to normal and then back to where you're going to take it is too drastic. He compared it to shutting your heat off all the way in the winter and then realizing, fuck, it's cold, and then turning it on and thinking you're going to quickly heat your house back up. Huh. He's like, you're better to leave your house at 70 all the time, and if it won't let it dip below that, and if you get cold, you can bump it up to 74 relatively easily.
Or 90.
So, or in my house, don't turn that fucker on at all. I don't need that shit. I'm fat.
You even have heat in your house?
Yeah, Jesus. I hate that. Whew.
So how cold does it get where you are now, South Carolina?
It hasn't gotten very cold yet. I mean, and I don't know if this is how it is where you are, Scott. And I know you get freezing. Don't get me wrong, but like so this yesterday morning I went outside and I had tank top and shorts on like at 7 a.m. to take the dogs out, and I was like, oh, it's pretty nice out. Like, it's not bad, you know? And then I looked and it was 40. And I was like, so if it's windy here, it's fucking cold.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's not, it's like 30 degrees warmer somehow, but it's only 4 degrees.
No, it's not like that here. It's not like that here. I was contemplating putting on snow pants to walk the dog this morning.
Yeah, no, I know you get freezing cold, but I mean, there's just the fact of like
the wind. Yeah, it does make it worse.
40 seem fine because in Arizona, if it's 40 degrees, I'm fucking frozen.
Yeah.
So 40 is like 4 degrees Celsius. It's like almost freezing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right, and it wasn't bad at all. So
tank top weather for Dusty.
I have literally. There's a sun out.
No, I find this fascinating because Dusty was like Mr. Scottsdale for so long that this is like so interesting to see how he's adapting to his new climate.
It's been shocking. I was ready for hell and or just moving back as soon as possible, and it hasn't been so bad, you know.
Okay.
And
nice,
you know, who knows? We're getting wild here. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys answering that one for me. Let's see here. No, can't do that. Okay, here we go. This is good. I'm in off season, so I upped my carbs. Since then, I feel sleepy all day. What can I do?
So I find I get a lot of questions from people similar to this. Like, hey, you know, I'm pounding my food. I feel like bloated. You know, it's hard for me to I have to lay down and hold my stomach. I'm like uncomfortable. I'm so full of food. And I think, man, I just sort of put up with all that stuff for 20 years. I just thought it was normal. I was like, just stuffing yourself, feeling bloated, gassy, having a hard time sleeping because you just ate so much. You know, all those things. And people sometimes write emails and I'm like, I don't know if this is this a thing you fix or do you just learn to tolerate this? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if your carbs are too high per meal, then you can get that you know, so maybe he's overeating carbs, but I don't know, you know. Depends on what type of carbs he's having. You know, maybe he's having too much sugar at his meals. I don't know. Maybe he should look at that type of stuff. But other than that, I just think if you want to be huge, you got to be uncomfortable a lot.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I just worked in reverse. So when I realized my feet were going to hurt for a decade, I just made sure I always had comfortable chairs everywhere I went.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'll just sit down. So when I owned my stores, if there was no one in the store that I needed to help, I sat down.
You probably grew better for that too, you know?
Yes. Broke a lot of chairs though. But anyways, fuck, who knows you can't lean back in them chairs? Why do they snap? It's ridiculous.
Wow, Dusty knows a lot about chairs. Yeah.
Yes.
You had to learn.
I learned the hard way. I've fallen out of lots of them. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Kind of wish I had recordings of that. I could have made some money.
No,
I agree with you 100% on that because the only thing I would question is how drastically did he bump him? You said he added carbs, and I do find that that's one thing that a lot of people do when I see their stuff. They're like, well, I had to up my calories, so I upped them 7,000. And I'm like, more?
Yeah, or he added a half a liter of orange juice to every meal.
Yeah, it's super drastic. And I was like, I was thinking add 100 carbs. Total.
Right. As I'm tired every time I pound this half liter orange juice, I get really tired.
It's true though. I mean, that's why it's funny, and I love the mentality because it's well, fuck it. If one is good, two is better, but it doesn't really work that way.
Some of the stuff that got a lot of guys into trouble also got a lot of guys really big. It's
you can't even argue that fact.
It just kind of is. No. Okay.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to take a brief moment to shout out our sponsors. I'll make it quick, but this stuff's super important because it's our sponsors that help to make this show possible. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. And if it wasn't for you shopping with our sponsors, we wouldn't be here either. You can support our programming by shopping with TrueNutrition.com. They're our title sponsor. They've supported us for a number of years. They have awesome health and performance supplements. You can ask Skip or Dusty or Scott Stevenson all about True Nutrition, and they'll tell you how good of a company they are. Hardcore bodybuilders have trusted them for over 15 years now. Use our code THINK. You'll get some savings. You'll support our programming. If you're in Canada, you can shop with supplementsource.ca. They have highly discounted supplements, discounts on bulk orders, and free shipping over $99. Check them out. And finally, you can directly support our programming on Patreon. I'll have links below for Patreon and everything else. We're taking more questions over there, and I appreciate everybody who's already helping to directly support our programming through our Patreon. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me. Let's get back to the show.
Oh, got another one. Oh, this is right up what we were talking about earlier. What's the best way to get a good following on social media? I'm hoping to get sponsored one day. Ron just got older before he delivered this next sentence.
Yeah, I don't have.
You could hear him age in that sound he made.
So I used to try to have an answer for this because I thought I had to have an answer because I'm like, well, I work for Mutant and I work in the athlete relations department, so I've taken these courses on social media, and we've had this, I know certain things, and I should try to put together a coherent answer for this question to help somebody get sponsored. But I realize I don't really use much of the stuff that I've learned in my own social media. And I only want to do stuff that's super, super like natural and organic for me. And I hate doing anything that seems any other way. So I'm probably not the best guy to ask, because to be honest, to be really, really successful on social media, you have to like play the game. Like, the people that do all the reels on Instagram and they do the little dance and they make people laugh and they want to go viral. Like, that's how they get 1 million followers. Like, no one's going to watch me do fucking decades on my bike, and I'm not going to get 1 million followers doing that and lifting weights and talking about how I used to be big. I'm just not going to get 1 million followers. So I just kind of don't try, but I want to give value and I want to be real and I want to always be natural and organic and honest, because that's an extension of me. So I just try to be myself, and I don't really know any other way to be on social media. So I'm probably not the guy to ask. That's my new answer.
I like that, but you're pretty successful. I mean, also you do live a life that's worth following. I think that there's something to be said about that. Pro bodybuilder, owns a cool gym. Like, I think there's an element to that. That in itself is probably not the answer. Like, you could live a really cool life worth following, but still not have a lot of followers. But you've got a lot of followers by my standards. So
yeah. I mean, I'm very lucky. I mean, it's been great. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of people are looking like for hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah.
They're looking for like millions of followers. They're looking to like make income directly from their Instagram, like that sort of thing. And I don't really have the answer to that stuff. But I think that if you're natural and you're yourself, then social media isn't like a stressful thing that you have to like, because you know how it is. If you live a fake life, like let's say you have a second wife,
right?
You now have to have a whole bunch of lies straight all the time,
right,
to keep both those lives going. And that's how I feel some people are with their social. Like they can't be themselves on social now because there's someone else on social.
Yeah.
Right? So it's weird if they're suddenly themselves on social, because that's not how anyone who follows them even knows them. They know them as this fake character. And now, so there's like this weird, I don't know. And when I see it, it's like weird to me. Right. But that's just my little take. Some people, their social is completely constructed. Like me and Dusty have talked a bunch of times about the followers thing. You see someone has 1 million followers and then they have like 10 comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this is all bullshit.
Yeah, immediately. you can tell very simply if you have enough of a following that those things jump out at you.
Yeah,
I agree. What about you, Scott? Because I feel like you have a great view also, because you deal with not just yours but a lot of other people's socials and how they get
You know what though? Instagram, not so much. I don't know if you consider YouTube a form of social media, then I guess, you know, it's a big investment of mine. Here's one thing that I think, like, if you want to be successful, you need to keep delivering the thing that people subscribe to you for. So if we started like giving advice, like I like guns, and if I started like doing videos about guns, there would be a percentage of people that like that stuff, and they'd be like, hey, I'll watch that. But it would be putting energy into something that our audience didn't subscribe for. So that would be, it wouldn't really benefit us. You know what I mean? So it's like constantly trying to redefine why do people connect with you, and then delivering that. And sometimes it can get kind of boring. You know what I mean? It's like, we could talk about progressive overload every single episode, but like we want to keep it fun too. And we want to have fun with it. That's the other thing. I think that when we have fun with the podcasts, I think that the people that do connect with us enjoy them a lot more. Like if we were just doing it because we felt like we had to, it's not the same, you know. And people, even if they don't recognize that, they somehow like they pick up on it, and it just doesn't translate as being as genuine. I think that John Meadows, here's what I loved about John is that he did not compromise, that he kept his morals and he built his brand. You know, like we all watched him, you know, because we knew when he was just a guy on the boards before he was even pro. And, you know, he shared stuff and he evolved that. And what he did over the years, like he never compromised, like he never sold out to, you know, just try to get views. He always delivered the stuff that he was passionate about. But at the same time, he was able to bend to deliver it in a way. Because like he even told me before, he was like, man, a lot of the stuff we do on YouTube is real basic. He's like, and I'm surprised that people they see our stuff and they're like, wow, you know, this was amazing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is a simple exercise, but you know, he knew like how to connect to people, even if it was like in a way he had to alter it a little bit to connect to them the way they could understand, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Two things. First, the thing that you said about how you have to keep delivering what your audience subscribed for, which is exactly like we talked about this ourselves. Like, you know, we've all had discussions about how much of the show can we afford to wander? Because, you know, we do have those shows where we hardly talk about bodybuilding. And so we go, well, you know, there's a certain amount of our audience that enjoy those episodes, but we also don't want to like overstep that separation from actual bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess part of our show is that even when we talk about other shit, it's through the lens of a lifelong bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always some flavor.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like, you know, bodybuilding spice in all the stories. So I guess that's helpful for what we're doing. If we were talking about like other stuff for too long, you know. And then the thing that you said about John was, I was just thinking about him the other day because I was going through my phone and I found some photos with him. And I was thinking about how since he's passed away, I have noticed that there's a lot of people who are doing textbook John Meadows stuff and don't realize that it's John Meadows. Like he had such there's so much of him in the pool.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He threw so many things into the soup of bodybuilding and
he really
fitness.
did.
And it's fucking everywhere. Like you could never get it out. Like I see people doing, you know, dumbbell Bulgarians, and it's just because their friend showed them to them.
Yeah.
They don't, oh, you're doing Meadows style Bulgarians. They're like, what? Like they've never even heard the term, right?
Yeah.
And just some of like the, you know, I've seen people doing a whole bunch of exercises that he does, and like the bands and the fucking, it goes on and on and on.
That's cool.
Know? So
that's a legacy.
It's something that that's a legacy, you know? So yeah, it was noticed.
Scott, your answer was flawless. I'm glad you spoke because I don't have to say anything. I literally was listening. I was like, I didn't think of that. That's better. Okay,
you've got more followers than I do. I should be listening to you.
No, but
yeah,
I think
Dusty's
it's
the king.
When you put it in there. I think the only thing that I would drive home is that I looked at social media the same way I look at competing. I wasn't really worried about the stage. I loved going to the gym.
Yeah.
I built my social media just being me and bodybuilding and not thinking. I've probably lost in the last few months about 3,000 followers because I continue to be me even on things that people don't want to see me.
No
like
kidding.
you said, Ron, drifting away. I'm not afraid to say, you know, the world's becoming a bunch of pussies. And some people don't want to hear that. And that's
Right.
okay, but you got to factor that in. If your big concern is your following, then you might not want to do that. But on the flip, I think I'm probably getting new followers for the same reason I'm losing old ones. You know,
Yeah.
so I just prefer to be true to me, and I don't really care about the number. But if you do care, like Ron said, you would have to go through the song and dance that I'm just not willing to do. You know, I just say I have a value to some people, and to some I won't. Oh well, that's good.
So my thing about how I see your social media, Dusty, is I envy your incredible consistency. And it reminds me of what Mike Rashid told me back in the early days when Mike Rashid was like, had just blown up. And
Right.
I just happened to, like, you know, we used to see Mike all the time at all the shows, right? And we'd always spend time with him. And I went and ate with Mike a bunch of times and trained with Mike and everything. So Mike used to always tell me, because I would always pick his brain a bit, because he was really blowing up. Like, remember him and CT were like fucking boom, right?
Yeah.
And Mike was like Instagramming everything he did. Like, he would get up in the morning and like story everything, like brushing his teeth, fucking making breakfast. Like, there was stories all day long. And I remember him saying, just do content. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't edit it. Don't give a shit. Don't redo it 20 times. Don't stress about it. Just fucking post it. That's what he used to tell me. And that's how he blew up, was he just posted the fuck out of everything.
Right.
And, you know, and the people that thought, and then also he happened to be like making good money and becoming successful. So there was a lot to see, right? So he was like posting as he was going up the fucking ladder. So it was like a lot of people just wanted to watch it, like, you know? So he that's how he did it. He said, just fucking post your brains out, post every day, post every story. And then he just did it that way. Just bulk volume, Dusty. He volumed the fuck out of it.
I think that's great though, because it's funny, but I've had this, you know, Rob Bailey, every year he'll put up kind of the throwback to when they first started and they were sleeping in the warehouse. And I love that story because it's true, and I know they did that. But what I would love to see is someone that shares that story while it's happening, because I think that in hindsight it always looks good, because like, yeah, but look where you are now. Everyone's afraid to share the story in the beginning because you look like a loser. Like, you should just go get a real job. People will judge you. They'll tell you all this. You know, same thing like Andy Frisella, you know, had people telling him he was a moron for what he was doing. And I don't want to know how many hundreds of millions of dollars ago that was. But I would love for someone to have the guts to chase something and go for it and just share your life during the process. Because it's kind of funny, but we're all afraid of being judged. It's easy in hindsight to go, well, this is where I started. And I'm not judging them. Like, I still love the story, don't get me wrong. But I would love for, now that the social media is here, like, don't wait till you make it to share, because there's a lot to be learned along the way that you could share with people. And there's a lot of people that are in that same spot that I think would really identify with it, because there are not many Andys and Robs out there, that will ever exist, but definitely that exist right now. So you're admiring, but is it, you know what I'm saying? You don't really share what you're going through now is what they went through 12 years ago. I'd love to see somebody that grinds it out publicly and puts it out there like, yep, I'm living here because I have to, but it's because I'm chasing this dream or whatever. And of course they're going to get hate, but who cares? Like, if there's one thing I can say after, you know, nearly dying, is I really don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about how I'm living my life. If I'm doing what I want to do and I'm not hurting anybody, if I'm a loser, cool, because I seem to be okay with it at the moment. You know what I mean? I think there's a big fear of the judgment from other people that you don't even give a shit about, but for some reason you're afraid of what they think.
I think Tommy's pretty good at that.
He's great at it, and I've been encouraging him to be that person.
Yeah,
because
that's good.
I wish in hindsight. So when Tommy and I, and for those of you who don't know, it's my old training partner. He was living in the back of a gym, and I wish I would have had this vision back then. And we talked, and he decided to move to Arizona, and he literally got in his car and headed. And I remember he was partially on the way, and I said, "Where are you staying?" He's like, "I don't know yet." Like, he didn't even know where he was going other than the city.
Yeah.
He ended up in an extended stay for 3 months, built up from there, and now where he's at, which I won't say, but I love watching him because people think it's less than it is.
Yeah.
Because I know where he is, and I'm like, it's so impressive. But I'm like, I know how much further he's going to go, so I'm like, start telling it now. We still have the story from 2 years ago that when you were living in an extended stay and what you've done in that time period, but there's still a lot of room to grow. And I think even that would be super impressive, because I know a lot of people, when he was coming out and doing what he's doing, I guarantee you a lot of his friends, I hate that word, were judging him and talking about how he was a loser for the decisions he was making. And I just remember knowing that he was going to fucking light it on fire, because I'm like, this kid only sees success as an option. And actually, when we did the show, there was some guys talking shit on that episode on our YouTube, Scott. I don't know if you saw it.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
It was so funny. It made me laugh so hard, because I'm like, and I don't mean to out Tommy here, so sorry for this one, Tommy, but like, I'm laughing because I'm like, I don't know who you are, but I'm pretty sure your tax bracket isn't the same. So, judge away, kiddo. I love that, but it's like, I would love to see guys do that, and don't be afraid to do it if you're well below that, because there are things in life that I've chased. I was going to be a professional hockey player. That was the plan. It was absolutely going to happen. And injuries, fate, whatever you want to call it, it did not happen. I have zero regret from that time period. None. And when I was done, when I realized, like, truly in the moment I knew I was done, I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. I had an injury, got the surgery, came back. I knew I was never going to be the same. I literally went, oh, but there was no, I never had to look back, because I went for it 150%. So I just came up short, and it was over. I feel like people who have regrets or are looking back are people who didn't fucking go for it.
They didn't try.
So they didn't fail. They just didn't fucking go for it, So I don't know. I think that people should go for it and shouldn't be afraid to go for it publicly, and who cares,
I actually remembered something the other day. Someone, I can't remember, I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about having nothing, like starting from nothing, or a point in their life where they had nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, because I actually remember a moment. I was in Australia, and I got off a bus in Sydney.
Right.
And I didn't know anybody there. I was just stopping in Sydney to have a look. And I remember I went to a Backpackers. I got off the bus, and there was a Backpackers like 2 blocks away. It was the one that everyone goes to. So I went down there. I got a room. I can't remember what it was, like $20 a night. And I remember I paid the guy with like my last cash.
Right.
And I knew that once I got to the Gold Coast, I would have a job again. And that was like going to be 3 days. Like, in about 3 days, I was going to have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took like the last money out of my wallet, and I like paid for my room, and I had zero money. And I had zero money in my bank account. I had an Australian bank account with $0 in it, because I'd used it all. And I had no money, but I had a Visa card. And I remember I went across the street and got like a bowl of teriyaki beef and rice on my Visa. And I ate, and I was like, I literally have nothing. I have a gym bag with a fucking George Foreman grill and a blender. And I'm living at a Backpackers, and I'm unemployed. And
I love that you had a blender and a grill with you. I love that.
The truest bodybuilder on the show, watching the show, anything is wrong.
Actually, it wasn't even a George Foreman. It was like a fucking generic, but it was like a copy of a George Foreman. So anyways, But I remember I thought I have nothing. Like I don't own anything. I have $0. $0.
Actually,
And
negative
this,
now because you put them on your visa.
yeah. And I have a Visa card. Yeah. And my parents were not going to pay my Visa. I remember like sending money home a few times to like, cause I'd use my Visa a few times and I'd like send my mom like $200. Here's $200 for my Visa.
Right.
So I had nothing. And yeah, it was just, I remember thinking like, okay, I got to like get up north and start working again. You know,
should probably get on this.
Yeah.
But those stories in hindsight are always amazing. I know, Ron, you saw that when Rob put that post up. But hindsight, those are some of the best times of your life.
oh yeah.
Because they drive something different. And that's why I want to see more people have the guts to do that, because in your worst times is typically where you find out who you are, and your best ideas, your best problem solving comes into play when you're fucked. So, and I know that everyone on this podcast speaking has been there. So it's kind of exciting time, but it's definitely better to look back at once you're past it. It's a little better story once you're gone.
Yeah. Like imagine how many viewers or how many followers I could have if I had stories from back then.
Yeah.
You could have been someone, Ron.
Damn, could have been someone, but I just was minding my own business, eating my food, not
Eating your
about
financed lunch.
yeah, my borrowed Edo.
2 more months and this fucking rice bowl is mine.
Yes, plus interest.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, here we go. Basic, but like it. In your opinion, what's the lowest body fat should be while still allowing for muscle growth?
Yeah. Again, it's relative to your genetic set point, but I would say like, 10 to 12% is a very nice, like you're like staying pretty, you probably look pretty good. I think if you're less than 8%, you're probably, most guys probably not eating enough.
Right.
There's the odd guy that just stays leaner than that no matter what. You can feed him fucking crazy amounts of food. But yeah, I would say like, if you're trying to stay leaner than 8%, you're probably not eating optimal growth food. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're consciously thinking like, oh, I'm not going to have carbs with this meal because I want to stay like 8%. And you're probably not, maximizing your ability to put on muscle mass.
Agreed.
Around there.
Scott?
Yeah, I think Ron's nailed it pretty much. And you know what, too? It probably depends person to person. Like the guy who, like you said, Ron, there's going to be those guys that are super lean. There's going to be the guys that if they take a week to go on a vacation, they're going to come back 10 pounds lighter. And there's going to be the guys that come back 10 pounds heavier, and who are you? Which one are you? Some people, I think it all comes down to like some of your genetics for getting lean and getting fat too.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the factor. I mean, when I read a question like this, my assumption is it's someone who doesn't naturally stay lean.
Oh,
because we all know when we've worked with someone, like we're shoveling everything we can down them, and they're just lean. It's so they're growing at the best rate they can. Maybe not the answer that you're looking for, but to me, I always look at every goal as what's the long-term goal, and then I do what has to be done to achieve that. I don't want to slow down the pace it takes me to reach that goal because I have short-term, in my opinion, distractions of wanting to have abs or look good on the beach.
Yeah.
So again, that's person to person. If those things are very important to you, that's fine. But if the long-term goal truly is the size, then I just throw that shit out the window and say what needs to be done to be as big as possible, as fast as possible.
Okay. I've got one.
Shoot.
That I forgot from last show because I took a screenshot. Looking back on the last 20 years, which bodybuilder do you think deserves a lot more credit for how good they were? So 20 years would be 2001. 2002. 2002 would be 20 years.
Damn.
More credit. Who's on the top of your head, Ron?
Well, the funny one that jumps out to me, the first thing that comes into my mind is Phil Heath.
I understand what you mean, even though that answer is throwing some people off immediately.
Like Phil Heath just gets better and better and crazier and more fucking amazing to me every year that goes by.
Right.
What the fuck?
Well,
I just can't help myself. I look back now at 2012, 13, 14 Phil Heath, and I just think, Jesus Christ, like fuck. You know,
I think hindsight is interesting with Phil, because if you would have asked me during his reign, put in order the best Mr. Olympias of all time, or the best bodybuilders, even some of the guys that didn't get there, I would have landed him like 7th, 8th of all bodybuilders, because I would have put him behind Flex Wheeler somehow. And now I look back, and if you say the best Mr. Olympias of all time, I'd say Ronnie, and then I'd say Phil.
Yeah.
Like,
I can see that.
I would put him in second behind Ronnie, and that's it. Like, I wouldn't even question it. And
there were
the Ronnie thing
a
is a toss
versions. Yeah, and there were some versions of Ronnie that don't beat versions of Phil.
True.
So
for sure.
Phil and Ronnie go like this in my head now, which is just mind-boggling.
Right. Yeah, I think the only time, because you're right, when you, especially considering the number of wins they had, I think the only thing that maybe gives Ronnie the edge in people's mind is who he was beating, and the fact that he brought something that we had never seen. And then finally, my personal opinion is, although I agree with what you said, Ronnie at his absolute best, in my opinion, does beat Phil at his absolute best.
Yes.
But I think that's the only person that you could say that to, because you drop great Phil on the stage now. That's why we all are having the hindsight now, because if you take those top Jay, those guys in that era, and drop them on this year's Olympia stage, everyone goes back 3 or 4 places, because those guys are 1, 2, 3, like without question to me.
Yep.
So who's your vote, Scott?
Man, I feel like it's going to be hard to top Phil Heath. You know, like it's too good of
a great answer
of an argument for sure.
I have one anyway, so I want to hear yours.
Man, I'm going to just, you know what? You know who I really liked, and this isn't like the number one guy that was overlooked, but I feel like, for some reason, I was just thinking about him either this morning or last night. You guys remember Silvio Samuel?
Of course.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he looked really good. He had as much muscle as he could possibly pack on his frame. And I feel like he never placed as high as I feel like he could have. I don't know why. Right. He was good though. And I remember too, it got me thinking, and this is kind of off subject. He tried to do a comeback. I remember he went to prison for a while. He came back, and then he started doing a comeback, but then I never heard anything. I guess he stopped.
COVID.
Is that what it was? He got COVID?
Well, I mean, a lot of stuff kind of went off the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just kind of a random guy I was thinking about, but I used to like him a lot, and I feel like he never really hit it as hard as I think he could have.
Those are the 202 days too, didn't he? Do the 202 when it first started? He was.
I think he did. Yeah. I think he did.
Yeah. I was going to say, and some of this is his own doing because of life, but I think a lot of guys now that wouldn't know this, but I think Victor Martinez was unbelievable. Like, he's one of those guys, like I put up there with like Kevin Levrone, where if somebody said, if you could look like any pro, who would it be? It'd be those two. Like, I just thought his physique at its best was perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have been Mr. Olympia. That's for sure.
Should have been.
2007. 2007 was a year, man. He won the Arnold Classic, so I mean, I'm really happy that he's got that Arnold victory. He was unbelievable, and he went through a lot. His career, he had a tough fucking career, man. But I mean, Jesus Christ, the guy must love to train, because he just kept coming back. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Vic.
I got to watch him pump up at the Arnold 2020, the year that nobody was there. And I got to go side stage where all the guys are hanging out and everything. And I got to take like a bunch of pics of him on my phone and stuff, just like literally standing, 3 feet away. And I mean, obviously he's past his peak at that point, but it was still really cool to be, that close to him. It's just such a great bodybuilder. I agree.
Yeah. Yep. Big fan. You got one more, Dusty?
I got 100 more. All right. Which is more optimal? Train fasted with full mental focus, or in the evening with meals but mentally less focused?
It's a tough choice.
Damn. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I would find it very difficult to train fasted every morning. I just don't really like early mornings. I'm kind of a night person. I come alive. I'm a bit of a vampire. So I would, and the mental focus thing, I would just maybe try putting more effort into being focused. Like, I know you've just come off work or whatever you're doing at night, you just finished your job or whatever. But maybe there's a little routine you can do to make those workouts better. Maybe you can just take 10 minutes to like play some music and like, lay back and just nap and play some tunes.
DMA.
And, yeah. Sorry, what's that?
1-3 DMA.
Oh yeah, 1-3 DMA. Yeah. Blast a rail off the dash.
Yeah.
Really get yourself fucking zoned in. Just fucking.
Who cares about sleep?
Fucking, Yeah. And you can go. You'll be asleep by 1-2 in the morning, probably. No problem.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So yeah, that's my advice.
I think you nail it, man. But I think he said that he feels more focused in the morning, but he's got to train fasted. What about getting a shake in before you train, just to get some food in your system? If he feels good training in the morning, I think too, we get conditioned. So like, Ron, you don't like training in the morning, but if that was your only opportunity to train, you'd do it. And, you would have a system that you would come up with, and you would probably get good at it after a while. That's what he's used to, maybe. And like you said, man, because I used to work a really hard job, and I would set it up so like my leg days were on Saturdays, which was going to be an easy day at work. So, I could make sure you get a lot of fluid, because you lose fluid through the day. And if you go into the gym, dehydrated, you're screwed. But if he likes training in the morning, even if he has, and I work with either 2 or 3 people that do that they train fasted, or they train first thing in the morning. And like one guy was like, hey, how about we just get in a shake, So he's getting some protein in, and then he does an intra-workout carb. So it's not maybe ideal, but hey, it's better than nothing.
I had a guy who had a system because he had to train at like 5 in the morning. So he had to be at the gym when it opened at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So he would go to bed at like 8 o'clock at night. Right. He would eat like steak and rice, go to bed at 8 and try to get some sleep. And then his natural thing was to wake up and take a piss at like 2:30.
Right.
So he would pound like a 75 carb, 50 protein shake.
Right.
And then go back to sleep and sleep for like 2 hours. And then he'd wake up and go straight to the gym with like a bottle of water and like drinking aminos and stuff. So he wasn't quite fasted because he'd had like 500 calories within a few hours. So he always had great morning workouts because he never felt like he was actually fasted.
Right.
So
agreed 100%. My big thing is just, what do you like, and fuck the rules. I really do think
that's the real answer
for that.
Yeah.
If you feel good in the morning, then go. If you have the luxury of choosing to, that's great. Because I think that's where a lot of people don't understand is other people that don't really have the luxury, and they're still asking, when's the best time to train? I'm like, well, when can you?
Yeah.
Okay, that'll work. That time will work. I mean, because I've trained at 4 in the morning, and I've trained at 10 p.m. And I've trained every time pretty much in between. Those 2 times neither were by choice, and both worked. So, as long as your gym's open, you're good to go.
What's the perfect time of day to train now for both of you guys? 11?
Yeah, 2 meals, and I'm good to go. It's actually 2 meals and 1 nap.
Nice.
Good to go.
I have two training times depending on, like, during the week we train at 4:30.
That's right. I've been there.
Off work. and it's like, pretty hopping. And then on weekends we train at noon.
Yep.
So those are kind of my two favorite times to train. So I get to do both of them. For the past week, I've been, we haven't been training together because of, Christmas and all that stuff. So I find myself training about 1 p.m. I just go in there by myself and have a quick blast. You know what I mean? So it's been all right. It's been a nice little change up.
Yeah, I base mine partially on how I feel and partially on the level of people in the gym. I find that people who are at work.
That's nice. Yeah.
Is when I like to train. There's enough people in there that there's good energy, but it's not slammed. Like as someone who owns a gym, I love to see what a 5 o'clock crowd looks like, but I ain't trying to train with them.
Right.
Glad you guys are here. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow.
Dusty.
Yes.
Dusty, we finished Yellowstone.
How'd you do?
So that season wasn't as eventful, but
Agreed.
that last episode was pretty solid.
Yeah, I was stunned that they were able to close it in, because the whole time I was thinking, you got 1 day left. How are you doing this?
Yeah.
And you haven't done shit for the previous episodes, so what are we doing? But they did.
Beth fucking got him. She cornered him, didn't she?
I love Beth. She's such a good person.
So there were a few points in the season where I was like, okay, Beth's character is starting to go like jump the shark now. Like no one would actually behave like this, and no one's family would actually tolerate anyone this poisonous to be in their presence.
Right.
But then she kind of it turned out all right.
Right.
and we started the new Dexter.
Oh.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I watched the last one last night.
Is it the last one? Because I'm waiting for that, because I want to see start watching when the season's over.
No, the season's over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they posted the whole thing. The whole thing's out.
Okay.
Season's over. Yeah, it ended last night, and I actually had to watch it last night because it was not optional to wait. It was a necessity to know what was happening.
All right, I'm getting Showtime.
We're 2 episodes in, and we watch it on Crave, and
Nice.
it's good. I recommend. It's pretty rewarding to just see Dexter
right
back in action.
I love your wording. Rewarding.
I like how in his brain, his dad has been replaced with his sister.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
His dad doesn't show up and talk to him anymore. Well, as far as I know. And it's just his sister now showing up and talking to him. So he's fucking crazy, but he's so lovable.
I love him. Yeah. He's your friendly neighbor serial killer.
He doesn't want to kill good people.
Yeah, which somehow makes it in your head. Okay, so you guys will love this. I tried to get my mom into it. Right?
Yeah.
And she couldn't get past, but he's a serial killer. I'm like, but it's only bad people. She's like, you
Yeah.
can't kill everyone.
It's the guy. He's only killing the people no one cares about. He's killing the guy who doesn't go through the green arrow.
Yeah,
He's killing.
God
He's
damn it.
killing he's killing the guy who's paying for stuff with change. It's the
Why do
people
you still
don't
have a
need.
checkbook, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I agree with that. I had that at the store the other day, Ron, for real.
Yeah.
Waiting in line, and then this is my favorite part. So you sit there and wait for them to be completely done. And then when you get the total, that's when you reach for your checkbook to begin the entire process of writing this out. And I'm thinking in my head, we don't do those anymore. They're going to say no.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
They
they
still take
fucking had
checks.
those. Yeah. Right at the grocery store, she wrote the whole thing out. I waited. I'm like, why do I always pick this fucking line? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I almost paid for it. Like, if she had less stuff, I'd have been like, I got you. You got to get the fuck out of here with that checkbook.
Got to use the tap.
$42. Totally worth it. Yeah, exactly. My phone is everything. Click.
Yeah.
There's some places now. There's some places now around here that accept Dogecoin, and
That's awesome.
they have a little crypto thing. If you wanted to send some money to the wallet, you can send them some Doge and pay for your stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
See, we're on both ends of the spectrum. He's got Dogecoin, and I got fucking checkbooks.
Yeah.
Told you
yeah.
I was out in the sticks.
That's where we're at. That's where we're at, Dusty. Okay. Well, is that it for today's episode, gentlemen?
I think we did a pretty solid one. Short but sweet.
Yeah. Well, I do have to do some serious business calls today, you know, fighting the good fight.
There you go. Do what you got to do. Stuff. Get your country in order, would you? Jesus.
Yeah. I know. I like call some people, tell them how to run shit.
Oh, it's you, Ron. We got you. Tap him through.
And shout out to you know who.
Of course.
Right? Shout out to Ryan.
Ryan always takes care of it.
Metroflex versus everybody. So we gotta love that guy. Love the gym. I can't wait till I can come back to the States without all the hassles. And yeah, we'll talk soon, man. Remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, comment,
ring the bell.
And where do people go to buy your merch?
Oh, now I've dropped it just to fucking emailing me until I get the other option going. So just email hanshawmerch@gmail.com. And that actually I had to create, Ron, because I just threw up my email not knowing I was going to get 70 emails in 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, fuck. And that's the same email where all my clients go. That was a train wreck.
Yeah.
That was
you got
a large mistake right there. I was like, I thought like 4 people. I thought my mom would order one, maybe Ron, and that's more or less it, you know?
Okay.
I will put that in the show notes, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.